This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Something I get asked about all the time online is my camera collection. And as you can see, it's pretty out of control. Once a year, I normally do a video that covers a portion of my collection, but I haven't done one that covers all of it. So I thought, why not share as much as I possibly can with you from my camera collection, which is making me feel a little bit unhealthy looking at all of it. And there is more than this. So I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to share in one video with you, but I know it's going to be fun because you love cameras. I love cameras. Let's talk about my camera collection. I do predominantly shoot film, so most of the cameras are film cameras, but there are quite a lot of digicams and kind of older style digital cameras here as well. Obviously, being a photography YouTuber, you do tend to pick up a lot of cameras because they're great for episodes, but I am also a working photographer, so this is how I'm justifying my collection. And I guess this is technically two people's collections because my partner, who is behind the camera, is also a professional photographer, and we work together to create this YouTube channel. So it's kind of halved. I'm going to attempt to go through this in an orderly fashion, and we're going to start with my least favorite type of camera, the rangefinder. I have a mix here of true rangefinder cameras and then rangefinder style cameras. So I'm going to start with the Fujica Minister 3, which I am working on a video of this camera and we have been shooting it a little bit recently. So I'll pop some photos up here. I don't love this camera, but I don't hate this camera. It's got a very, very like nostalgic feel to it. And it is one that I find interesting. Like I get interesting results from, but I definitely don't particularly enjoy focusing with this system, the sound of the shutter, all of that. I do like the look of the camera. I think it's really cool. It's got a very vintage look. The selenium meter looks really cool too. Rangefinders are probably like the best looking cameras, I think, but I just do not enjoy using them at all. It doesn't suit my style. I don't like the focusing system. I've talked about this before on the channel, but I do think there's something special about the Fujica Minister, and I'm excited to do an episode on it and how like nostalgic the results are. Next up, I have Canonettes. So I've got the Canonet QL25 and the Canonet QL17. These I haven't really used very much, but my partner has. And when you nail it, it is so sharp. Like I am blown away by some of the photos that we have got from these little cameras. I don't know. I know a lot of people use them for like street photography. Hashem from Pushing Film has done really great videos on Canonet cameras. But yeah, I just don't vibe with the rangefinder style. Shutter sound is so underwhelming, which I know is really good for street photography, but I like a big shutter. In the rangefinder style, I also have an Olympus Trip, which I do really like. I don't have it with me because I lent it to the son of a client. He has just started shooting film and I thought that he might enjoy trying out using the Olympus Trip. I like the Olympus Trip because it feels very point and shoot. It feels simple, compact, and easy to use. I do have a video on my channel where I shot black and white through it, and I thought the results were really good. So I like the Trip. I think it's a cute, cool camera. Next up is the Fujifilm X20. This isn't like technically a rangefinder, like it doesn't have a patch, but it's a rangefinder style camera. This is digital, obviously, one of my most popular videos and something that I still get messages about today. I love the X20. It is so, so cool. If this broke, we would buy another one for sure. People do say they have reliability issues, but this one's been going strong for a really long time now. It was my partner's and he took it traveling and then we kind of brought it out and used it and I absolutely love it. I love everything about it. It's so small. It's so easy to use. It's snappy. The thing that I like about this camera is the manual zoom as opposed to like the kind of clunky like lever thing. It just feels really nice to use and I really like getting like tight crops. So I do like a zoom lens and it's just a joy to use and the photos come out like quite sort of filmy looking. I think it's an amazing, amazing camera in the X series for sure. The Texas Leica, I feel like we have a very fraught relationship. I don't like rangefinders. I don't like medium format. So this to me is just like a monster of a camera that I really struggle to use. It looks really cool. Like it looks badass because it's like so big and it makes you feel like super professional. It's even got the word professional on it. But we have been using this. We used it recently, and maybe by the time this video goes live, you will have seen the video that we do where we shoot it in the style of kind of Paris, Texas, the movie. But yeah, for that sort of thing, like Lux was shooting the portraits. I had come up with the concept. We knew it would look really good on medium format and we wanted to be like serious about it. Then it's great for that. But to use walk around style, I hate it. It's horrible. And focusing, I find really difficult with it. You get eight shots, 9 shots or something. It's like, I'm used to 36. I just can't deal with medium format. Like it's just not for me. It doesn't matter which camera I try. I just like 35mm. But I like being shot on medium format. So it's going to stay in the collection. We used to have a Mamiya 645 that we sold and then we got this instead. It's big. It's heavy. It's the Texas Leica. I don't really know what else to say about it, but it's definitely staying in the collection. Lux enjoys it, and I do like the photos that we have taken with it when we really take our time. Let's talk about digital cameras. So we mostly shoot film for work, and we have a lot of Nikon lenses. So we thought it would be good to have some digital options. So we chose the D700 and the D7100, and they are both fabulous in their own right. So the D7100 is a newer camera and it's a crop sensor. The images are very crispy. So if we were going to need something that was higher resolution for a job, which to be honest isn't really that often because things just end up online on social media these days, really, we would use this. And I do like it and the results, but I definitely think that the D700, which I did a video recently on, people call it the legend. This only being 12 megapixels still is just so good and is, more than enough for really what we need. And just the way it renders colors, just everything. It just looks so nice. I have to admit, I always prefer film. Like, even though I'm really happy with this, we'll shoot half the job on digital or get backup photos digital, process them when we get home. I'm like, wow, they look so good. And they do. They look really good. Then we get the film back and I'm like, oh, man. Maybe I'm a bit of a film snob. I don't know. But I do think this comes very close and is still like really nice, really pleasing. It's really nice to be able to like interchange the lenses. We've got a lot of Nikon film cameras. So having these, we can pop the lenses on. And if people ask me about buying a digital camera, I always say, try and align that. Like if you have a lot of Canon film cameras and you've got Canon lenses, then like maybe look at the equivalent of a digital in the Canon. I recommended the D750 to a film shooter who has a lot of Nikon film cameras, and she's really loving that for her portrait work because she wants to be able to offer something digital. So that is also on our wish list too. The other two digital cameras that we use sort of quite often would be the Canon Powershot G2, this chunky monkey gifted to me by 1 Month 2 Cameras. Thank you, Ali. This is clunky to use, slow, but it's fun. It's so fun. The noises it makes. I have a video on this, and I think these maybe are 2 of my most popular videos. So it's kind of funny. I'm a film channel and like all my popular videos are digital. But yeah, this is like quintessential digicam look, and the flash especially awesome. Like if you can get your hands on a G2, it's so fun to shoot and the photos are just so cool. So highly recommend. And then the Fujifilm X-E1, which the JPEGs aren't great, but we shoot it raw and then process it with our warm film preset, which you can get on my website. It's linked below and it looks amazing. So yeah, the X-E1 also is like a little bit slow. I was shooting it a while ago and there was a lot of movement and I was getting a bit frustrated with like the autofocus because it's quite primitive. But other than that, it's a real dream to use. I really like the photos from this. And I just love, like with the X20, just the compact nature of these cameras and just like the way they feel with all of the knobs and the levers and all those kind of things. Very nice. Digicams. We have quite a few of these. A lot of them like don't work. We've got them in like thrift stores and you don't really know if they're going to work or not, or they work intermittently, but super fun. Nikon Coolpix, and then the Sony Cybershot, which is like such a fun like 2000s shape, and they're just cool things to own. They're pretty easy to pick up, and you can go down such a rabbit hole with digicams. Watch Ali's channel, 1 Month 2 Cameras, or Snappiness. He has videos specifically on cameras. Their reviews are a lot more technical than mine. I'm just a vibes, like the way the camera makes me feel, like when I'm shooting it and like the photo. But digicams are super, super fun. They're very like pocketable as well. So Lux will often have this in his pocket when we're like out at like a family thing, and he'll just take photos with it and it's fun. Or if you're going to parties or whatever, which we don't because we're parents and we don't really go out at night anymore. But if you do, you should get one of these. Something that you, camera nerd, camera hoarder watching might relate to is when you go on Marketplace and there's like a box of cameras, or someone wants to sell like a bunch of cameras all together. You see one in the pile that you want, so you get all of them. And then that's how you end up like us with all these cameras. That's what happened with these. So I think they're called bridge cameras, but people can comment below and let me know. Like I said, the 2 channels I mentioned, Snappiness, 1 Month 2 Cameras, they cover this kind of thing really well. I haven't used and I haven't really looked at. Lux probably went through them, read all about them, but they're just things that we've picked up in bundles, which adds to our collection. And sometimes, you know, a year later, you'll go through and you'll be like, oh, I wonder what that looks like. Maybe I'll shoot it. And it can be really inspiring. So it's really cool to have a lot of cameras to choose from, because when you're feeling low on inspiration, you can choose something you've never shot before or you haven't shot for a while, and it might really like reinvigorate you. And then on the other hand, it's really overwhelming and you have choice paralysis. You feel like you don't really shoot that much because you just have so many cameras, and you know, you end up shooting just with like one camera and you have all these cameras. So it just depends where you're at in your life, but we definitely are at a point where we have a lot of cameras. Obviously, being a YouTuber and also a content creator, so making a lot of reels and like short form video content for clients, we, you know, a huge part of our job is video. So at the moment we're filming with our Fujifilm X-T4, which I actually did a photo walk with last video, and then our Sony ZV Mark II, which pretty much always just gets used for video as well. So I don't really talk about video that much because I feel like photographers are photographers and videographers are videographers, and the two don't always kind of cross over that much. But comment below if there are things that you want to know. We're happy to answer. But something fun that we picked up to kind of like switch it up is this JVC older but still digital kind of camcorder. So this doesn't take like DV or anything like that, because it can get really complicated with camcorders. Like I get a lot of young girls message me and they're like, I want to get a camcorder or whatever. And it's like they don't realize like transferring the footage and doing all those things. So this is really easy because it's just on a card and it's like not too much of a hassle to transfer it. So it's like new enough, but old enough to still have that camcorder look. It's got like the camcorder zoom. And then you can be like hot girl summer with your camcorder in the mirror and like do that whole thing. They're super fun and they just feel like everyone kind of reacts differently to it when you pull it out as well, which is really great when you're working with people and you want them to sort of just like be fun and relaxed. This is really great for that. I share my photo walk videos on here on YouTube, but I also do a lot of client work and a lot of other personal work and projects. So if you want to see everything that I do, you can head over to my website, lucylumen.com, and you can find all of my work. You can find blog posts, and it is all done by Squarespace, who are sponsoring today's video. Building a website has been paramount to my success as an artist and photographer. Finding your place online can be tricky these days, but with easy templates built specifically for photographers, you can have your portfolio and projects in customizable galleries displayed in minutes using Squarespace. It's super easy to organize all your content with the new asset library, enabling you to manage all your files from one central hub and use them across the Squarespace platform. This makes updating and refreshing my site myself really quick, which I love. I recently set up an online store to sell my presets, guides, and even offer free downloads to the community, and it's literally drag and drop to get it all up and running. Whether you sell physical prints of your work or you want to start offering workshops or sessions, Squarespace has the tools you need to start selling online. We all know how limiting and frustrating social media can be, so why not take the power back and curate your own online presence and corner of the internet with your very own Squarespace site? Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Lucy Lumen to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain, or use the code Lucy Lumen at checkout. Links are in the description to get started today. Thanks for sponsoring this video, Squarespace. I have 3 waterproof cameras, so 2 of them I haven't put underwater because they're too expensive. Lux was saying that the Nikon AW, which stands for All Weather AF, so part of the Nikon L35 family, which is one of my favorite cameras, is the best, and it is really sharp, but it's quite sort of industrial and chunky, and I don't know, I haven't really used it that much, but when I've used it, I have been really happy with how the photos look. I really like the Canon Canon Powershot A1. It's a very good prop in photos as well as being an extremely sharp lens. This is a total sleeper in that it kind of looks a little bit toy-like and it's waterproof. So it's but honestly, it is so, so, so sharp and it's really easy to use. I would never put this underwater because it's so good. And then it's really great if I want to take it to the beach or, be in a situation where there's going to be a little bit of weather. I know it's going to be okay and it's going to perform really well. Super cute. Love it. We also have this, which is an Olympus Tough camera. So Tough Guy. We put this underwater and the results looked really, really cool. And we made this awesome video that is now running as an ad for this motel that's been redone. It's 60s motel and they had a pool. So we shot underwater for a second. And yeah, it's kind of shitty digicam underwater vibes, but I don't know, it's just got a really cool look. So we keep it just for that pretty much. And we don't really mind if it breaks because, I'm sure we could source another one, whereas the other ones, the film cameras, they're pretty expensive. So I don't want them to be submerged. We're going to move on to point and shoots now, which is my favorite style of camera. I just think they're so fun. I love them so much. They're quirky. They're by far the most interesting. So let's talk about them. I have a Fujica T4, which somebody gifted me. Christopher, if you're watching, thank you so much. And I did make a video on this kind of a year in review. I mean, it's a Fujica T4. Do I need to say much more? That rhymed. This guy here, he's a little dusty because I haven't used him for a while. This is the Canon Powershot Tele. So my parents actually had this camera when I was a kid. And then when I was 16 or 17, I started using it because I got really interested in film and they were like, oh, we've got a camera. They had the case for it and everything and the manual and it was really well looked after. And then I took it with me when I moved away and I moved out of the house I was living in and I left it there and I never went back and got it. So I always felt really bad about that because it was our family camera. And then years later, we saw one pop up on Marketplace and bought it for $20 and it came with the case and with the manual and everything. And it just felt like this coming back together with this camera. This is one of those interesting point and shoots because it has a few more functions. So it's got that filter, it's got the twin lens, so kind of zoom capabilities. It's got exposure compensation and it's also got multiple exposure, which is really cool too. So I love a point and shoot that packs a bit more of a punch in terms of its features. The results are average, as in the lens isn't amazing, it's not super sharp, there's no oh my god sort of factor to it, but I think it's really, really cool and I like these chunky point and shoots. I think they're really cool. Speaking of chunky, we have the Canon Zoom XL, which definitely deserves its name. This is another in the Powershot lineup and this lens is amazing. It is so sharp. It's SLR quality inside a point and shoot, which is amazing. Really, I should be using this more. It is quite chunky. I think I had some focusing issues with it when there's white. It the autofocus was jumping around, but it is truly incredible. And if you ever see one flying around in a thrift store or anything like that, definitely pick it up. Yeah, give it a try. It's amazing. And it does have a few other like little features too. So very cool camera. Another favorite point and shoot, which I should also be using more because I took one of my best-selling prints with this camera, the ping pong table. I'll put it up here. And it's the Minolta AFC. So it's got that like Olympus XA style with the add-on flash on the side and the clamshell like design, which I really, really like. It's just super cool. That's what I mean. Like point and shoots have these like little quirky things about them, and I just feel like you don't get that in other cameras. This is a little bit more kind of, I don't know, like I think that's what puts me off using it. Like you advance like you would on a disposable camera. I'm kind of worried the clamshell thing's gonna break. And then like it's very analog. Like it feels very, very analog. It's like it winds with like a wheel. You wouldn't think that the results have come from something like this. Like really, really, really good. And then it's got a flash. It's got everything. I absolutely love it. I think it's very, very cool. This is the Canon Auto Boy WT28. And to be honest, the photos aren't that great. I followed this girl on Instagram in like Norway or something, and she just had the coolest photos. And she tagged this camera in all of them. She obviously just had a really good eye because I took photos and they were just really meh, which goes to show that just because you have the same camera as someone else doesn't mean the photos are going to be the same. It has a map on the back, like a world map. So that's kind of really interesting. Again, very quirky. It's very collectible, and you can set like the time for all the different places in the world. So it's that kind of era where it was being marketed to travel people like going on holiday with point and shoots type thing. So yeah, interesting camera, not the most amazing camera, but cool to own. The Pentax IQ Zoom, otherwise known as an SBO, and I did have an SBO, but I think I gave it to a friend who wanted to get into film. These are like super affordable and like they're totally fine. Like if you are watching this and you're, you know, film camera curious, or you want to buy something and that's not super expensive but still gets good results, 100% an SBO. Like they normally are in like op shops or thrift stores, and yeah, they haven't been blown up. Sorry if I'm blowing them up. I don't think so, but yeah, just like a good camera, you know. Obviously Nikon L35 AF, which I took out with me the other day to use, and I was like trying to get a photo of this trolley with like all these lemons in it outside this grocery store, and I knew that they were going to come out and be like, "What are you doing?" And it wouldn't work because like the battery, like the duct tape on this is like has been on for a while, and if the battery's not pushed right up to make the connection, it won't fire. And a lot of people think it's broken. It's not the case. It's normally that. So I had to like hold it and then like try. It's just a nightmare. And I was like, oh, I was with my son and he's like running off with my partner. It's just a nightmare. Nightmare camera, but so, so, so good. Nothing trumps the flash on an L35 AF and the vignette, everything. It's like its whole own look. So, so cool. Camera looks really cool, but like build quality is an absolute nightmare. In the plastic kind of toy camera realm, I don't have too much because like I have no problem with these cameras, but I just think that, you know, for the price point that they are, you could get something like an SBO that's going to have a lot more longevity and the results are going to be better because it's like a proper-ish lens. But in saying that, I do think the Rito 3D camera is super fun, and we've used it a few times, and like it'd get old pretty quickly, but I've had clients even ask for that. They're like, oh, that's really cool. Like how it creates a little GIF. So it's fun. It looks like something from Star Wars. So it's a good like shelf piece too. And then I have the Ektar H35N. This was one of the ones I got in collaboration with them. So it has my name on it, which is pretty cool. This was one of the ones, like early ones, I think. And then they sent me another one that was like the updated version because I think this had some kind of issue. I can't remember what it was, but you know, very like super cool, super cute. If that's your thing, personally, I'd rather invest in like a proper half frame camera though. Then we've also got the Rito Ultra Wide and Slim, which is modeled off the Vivitar Ultra Wide and Slim previously made. This was hard for me because I don't really like wide angle stuff, but I do really like the colorways and like the matte finish on the camera and, cool. But again, just the price point, I'm like, you can find a point and shoot for if you look, you can find one for like $20 and it's just going to be a lot better. And it's easier to use, easier to load, like it's auto loading. Like these things are all kind of like, I don't know, it feels like a bit of a shit show sometimes. Shit show. It's something we say here in Australia. And then I've got the Pano camera, the Matt Murray Special, which is like obviously literally just a piece of plastic. It's focus free. It's like as simple as it comes. And I think it's cool to celebrate this kind of gear, if you can call it that, because there's so much snobbery in photography and, it's good to work with something like this and see what you can get. Pano isn't my preferred format either, but yeah, Matt did a really cool zine. It pushes you to try something that maybe you wouldn't normally, and you can literally pick them up for $1. So it's just a little bit of fun. All right. Maybe talk about SLRs. One of my favorite cameras that I own is my Olympus Pen FT. This is an SLR, but it's a half frame camera. I think that looking back now, we would have probably got the Olympus Pen F.
Just F.
Pen F, just the Pen F, not the Pen FT. But, you live, you learn. And this is a beautiful camera. Like it is sexy AF. We got it like mint from Japan. It wasn't cheap. It was my 30th birthday present from Lux. So I really love this. It's so beautiful to use, like, focusing through it. I love that when I hold it like this, it's vertical. I don't have to do this. I really like that. And I love that, I'm getting so many shots. It's really cool. It does have some issues with the counter. So it gets up to like 52 and won't go past that. So I don't actually know where I'm at, but I can feel when I'm advancing that it's getting like pretty sort of taut. So I know the light meter is rubbish. Like it just doesn't really work. It's like all over the place. And I have heard this from other people that have the same camera. But it doesn't really bother me because I just use Sunny 16 and I'm very predictable in the sort of light that I'm shooting. So I kind of know, you just get to know what stuff is when you're even using a meter, where you just know. My other favorite SLR is my Olympus OM10. I know someone's going to comment. This is a 3D printed holder from Cameradactyl. I can link it below. I get a lot of questions about it. Very cool. Like they come in all different colors, sorry. The Olympus OM10 is like, it's a consumer camera. It's not like a professional camera. People say that there's like issues, with it, like mechanical issues and stuff, but this has always been totally fine for me and it would be easy enough to replace. I have Zuiko glass on this. This is the 1.4 and it is just bloody beautiful. It is amazing and then just elevates the whole experience for me. I have a manual adapter on it, which mostly is there for Lux. I don't really use it. This to me is like, I love the metering system. Just everything about it. It's just like giving me the analog experience, but it's really simple. The results are really good. I've taken some of my favorite photos with this camera. One that is actually going to be in like a real life gallery very soon too, which is very exciting. Got this little like chin on cap. I'm sure you guys have that where you're like, you've got this really nice camera and then you've got like this like shitty brand camera lens cap on it. Speaking of, we have like the proper Gothic F lens cap for the Pen FT, but Lux won't let me put it on there and use it. Thank you. I'm always burning you. He won't let me put it on there and take it out because I am known for losing my lens caps. I put them down and then forget about them. But it really does elevate like the whole thing. Like, oh, look at that. So nice. Pentax Spotmatic with a Super Takumar lens, which is fun to say, even more fun to use. So Spotmatic is, I think, a really underrated camera. We have one in black and then one in silver. I don't really use them that much. Lux uses them and he's taken some amazing portraits of like me, like when I was pregnant, like pictures of me when we first had like our son, just like really emotional, like real film photography. Like I look at that and I'm like, that is film photography. This feels, very quintessential for that style of photography. I think did one of the Beatles use a Spotmatic maybe? Yeah. So I think they're really underrated. It looks really cool with this square lens hood too. Love that. And these super multi-coated Takuma lenses are like, they have like radiation or something in them. I don't know. Someone will comment and tell me. But they're also like extremely, I think, underrated. And I speak to a lot of people who are very like, into cameras and like they haven't used one or they haven't heard of them before. So definitely stick one out if you can and use one. Really nice analog shooting experience and beautiful, beautiful cameras. This brings back many memories. This is one of the first film cameras I ever bought. It's a Fujica ST801. Like it's real nothing, no one's like, oh my God, wow. Like, but it was my kind of gateway into film photography when I first started, but I had many, many, many issues with it. Like it was hard to focus and I don't know, I wouldn't know when it was finished or I would freak out and I would open the back and then the roll would be ruined or like I'd send it off to the lab and then it would come back blank and I'd be like, oh, what happened? Or it hadn't actually like caught on to the spool or like one of the sprockets was broken, just like blah, 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 problem after problem after problem. But now we're here and I don't have any problems because I use mostly a Canon Rebel G. But we all have these cameras where we're like, this was like the first one that I owned and so I'll always keep it. But it's heavy and it's just not that great. Sorry, Fujica. That's the other Spotmatic. I think it looks cooler in the black because then it gets the brassing on it and that just makes it look all like nice, nostalgic. This is the Minolta XGM owned by Matt Day, film photography legend. And, as I said in my video, when I photo walked with it, if it's good enough for Matt Day, it's good enough for me. It's really good. I did a video where I pulled some portrait. It came out really nice to use, totally capable. Don't think they'd be too expensive either. And everyone gets such a like hard on for like a Canon AE1 or like a Pentax K1000. And it's like they're the only cameras that you can use in this style when you get started. And like, that's just not true. If anything, I'd go for something that's like newer so you don't have issues or something like the OM10 where like you can kind of meter like in a more like simple way. I just think it's like more intuitive to use and you're not trying to do everything manually at the start. It's like making it really difficult for yourself. But Minolta, I don't actually own that much Minolta gear and it's really, really good. So it's something I would like to get into, but I probably don't need to. This is the Nikon FT2, I think. A friend who has even more cameras than us, I think he gave it to us. He lent it to us. He gave it to us. If you're watching, thank you. This is not too far off like a Nikon F, really, which, is very expensive. So this is a lot more of a budget option. I think this is more of a luxe camera than me. Like I get really like, this is heavy, It's like, I don't want to lug this like big hunk of metal around all day. Like, no thanks. But, it looks really nice. And if you are looking for an option that's a little bit cheaper than a Nikon F, this would be the go. Speaking of Nikon legends, this is the Nikon FM2N. Bulletproof, apparently, but not if we own it because there's been a lot of problems. Hot shoes come off, which can be fixed, but then it just jammed up like halfway through a roll. So it won't advance, probably needs to be like taken apart and had like a whole thing done to it, which is a little bit sad because Lux was very excited to own this camera. He's also got one of the Cameradactyl like grips on it. And, it's really beautiful. It does multiple exposures, right? With the, we've taken some really cool ones. They're on the print shop. And the way it does them is so much easier than with any other like camera. So it's a shame, but hopefully we can get it fixed or we come into another one in our lives at some point. This is probably like the second camera I bought. So I had the Fujica and I was having all these issues. So I lived in Melbourne at the time and I bought this Nikon EL in like an laneway, like a little alleyway in Melbourne. There's like this little Japanese man had this camera shop. It was like really old, kind of like a junk shop, but it was just full of cameras. It kind of looked like this room right now. This was, $120 or something, like with the lens. So I was like, okay, that's affordable for me. And to be honest, it kind of had the same issues as the Fujica. And again, like really like super, super heavy. But, again, I will always hang on to this because it's one of the first cameras that I owned. I think from memory, maybe Taylor Pendleton had this same camera in her video when she did her camera collection. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting because no one talks about this camera and I haven't really seen anyone sort of with it. So
I think Hashem got one recently.
Okay, and Hashem got one recently too. Everyone has one, so don't listen to me. But yeah, it's so heavy. I'm just like, oh, like my shoulder hurts just thinking about like walking around with it. And that's what used to happen. I used to walk around the city, get on the tram. I was like trying to do street photography, trying to be like all these people that I was reading about. And I was like, oh God, I'm so tired. And then I'd get the roll back and it would just be all out of focus, nothingness. So I did a video where I went through my whole Nikon camera collection. So obviously there's a lot of that in here. And this is the Nikon F4. Doesn't work. So we, took a chance on it. It came with some lenses, I'm pretty sure.
About 8.
Yeah, it came with about 8 lenses. And that was sort of like why we bought it. Really hoping this worked because, again, Lux really, really was like, I really want an F4. But it just doesn't matter what we do. We just can't get it to work, unfortunately. So a little bit sad, but we just keep it. It's in the graveyard. Like we all have, cameras in that kind of zone. And then this is comical to me. So this is the Nikon F100, which I do use, not with this lens on it. F100 is a beast. It is so, so, so good. When we got it and we started using it with off-camera flash, we shot some food, we did like product shots, like jewelry and perfume and stuff. And I was like, wow, this is so good. And it's so like easy to like focus and like see through the viewfinder, just amazing. Really good like for professional work. And then there's this 80 to 200 mil lens, which is like massive. And like, I don't know, it just seems a little bit like OTT for me. But the photos from it, amazing. Like we'll go to the beach and then I'll stand there. Lux will take my photo and I'm like, wow, that looks so, so good. So it's a really amazing portrait lens. And like the compression, like when he was explaining it to me, I was like, nothing would be worth like carrying this around. But when you see the photos, I'm like, okay, I get it. And like, yeah, that compression really, really does something for a portrait image. Makes you look really skinny too. Oh dear. Let's talk about my EOS's. So I have the EOS 7 and the EOS, the Rebel G, the KISS. It's got a few different names. So I've done some videos I've done a video on the Rebel G recently. It's my like desert island camera. I love it. It's so good. It's just easy. It's everything I want it to be. It's basically like using a point and shoot. I've got the 50 mil on it at the moment, but I normally have the 40 mil, which is on the EOS 7. So these two are like the ones I'm using all the time. And if you just gave me like the Rebel G and maybe like a point and shoot, I'd be so happy. But, we have all these cameras. So EOS 7's like, it is a lot easier to focus through. And I have been picking it up a bit more recently because when we've done things in low light, I like know that this is going to be a lot easier to use with the autofocus. But just amazing cameras. Like the bodies are so cheap. And then if you've got, Canon lenses, then, it just makes sense. So yeah, we're more Nikon than Canon, but sometimes I do think like, oh wow, like Canon is like more reliable and like better, but like Nikon has more personality. It's got more edge, I don't want to be a Canon person. This camera is probably like the weirdest camera I own, and I did do a video on it a while ago. It is the Fujica Samurai. It's a half frame camera. It looks like a camcorder. It's super weird. it's quite difficult to use. If you want to go and check out the video, you can, so you can see. But yeah, it's the Kyocera Samurai. It's very cool and like weird and like 80s feeling. It's got quite a cult following for like its like build and design and, you know, all of that. It's definitely not a camera that I'm reaching for like ever, but I got it at a camera fair for like $60 or something, and it works. So, you know, it's a cool thing to own. I don't shoot a lot of instant film. I'd like to, but it's pretty expensive. So I've got this Polaroid now, which, to be honest, I like looking at more than I like using. Polaroid, like, just, it doesn't hit for me. Like, it looks SX70, like, yes, something about it, but I find it really, really hit and miss and hard to shoot and get right. And then it's so expensive. I'm just like, oh, damn. You know, and I just kind of feel bad about myself as a photographer. So yeah, very cool design. I love this. It feels very Lucy Lumen, but it's not something I'm using a lot. It uses the I-type film. I just feel like the I-type film is kind of just like not as good as the SX70 film. This I've had since I was like, I don't know, 16 or 17, and I don't think it works now. Does it work? Oh, it does work. Yeah, I had problem. I remember I had problems with it in the past when I was using like expired, like impossible project film. But yeah, it works. And I mean, this is such a cool design, you know, like the boxy like shape. It's so cool. It's a great prop. And SX70 film looks amazing. So yeah, this is like the classic rigid body SX70 Polaroid. I think this looks cooler than the fold-up ones, just saying. And then the one that I do use a lot, and we did use recently for a fun project that might be on the website. I'm not sure because I don't know when this video is going to come out, but you should go and look and see, is the Instax Wide. So I find this to be extremely reliable. Hit rate's really high. There's an adapter for like close-up. I don't know. I like it, and I like the wide. I like the aspect ratio of the wide as opposed to the square because you can do like a vertical, you know. So yeah, this is something that we do use. It's also such a better price point. Like we got a bulk pack of Instax on Amazon, and it worked out to be like, I don't know, $1 a photo or something like that, which is fine. Whereas Polaroid's just, you know, it's like so expensive. The only thing with this is you can't override the flash. It doesn't have much sort of option for like manual control. So I would like to get something else because we do shoot it, like when we're doing a job, we want to like make it more exciting or like get some BTS or like give the client something that they can post and do like a little collage with the instant film. So I'd like to get something that's a bit better. So comment below if you are like an Instax aficionado and you know which camera I should get. I would love to know what you guys think of my collection. Is there a gap here? Do you think I should buy more cameras? Do you think I should cull some? Let me know what's in your collection too and what you've been eyeing off or what you have owned that I own. Anything you can offer in the realm of what you think I would really love to use as well, because there are so many cameras out there and there's like little gems like, you know, the AFC that I didn't really know about and I'm really glad I own. So let me know below. Let's chat cameras and I'll see you in the next video.